Hello, everybody. This is Jasper, and welcome back to another episode of the Newton Public Schools Alumni Association. Today, we are joined by another special guest. We have Sasha here with us. So, welcome to the show, Sasha. Very happy to have you join us today, and very excited for today. So, would you mind starting us off with a quick introduction of who you are when you graduated South, as well as what you're doing now?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jasper. I'm Sasha, Sasha Dubinsky. I graduated from Newton South in 2016. And then after college, I went to medical school. So now I'm in my fourth year of medical school at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine.
I see. That is amazing. So I guess, what do you major in college and kind of, do you really think of being, I guess, a doctor or pursuing med school when you were in high school, or is it something that you kind of decided more recently?
Yeah, great question. I went to school for behavioral neuroscience at Northeastern. I definitely liked science back in high school. I thought I was going to do something sciencey. Went to college and thought I was going to get a PhD in neuroscience, and then started working in a lab during my second year of undergrad, and realized that I liked science, but I wanted to be around people more. And I connected with someone in the lab who was also a physician, and they took me with them to work. And I realized that I really loved interacting with patients, and wanted to sort of do research as well as be a physician. So I went to medical school.
I see. That's amazing. So I guess, speaking about your experience in a Newton South High School, are there maybe any courses you took at South or maybe any clubs that you were part of at South that you feel either maybe directly contributed to your knowledge in med school or maybe helped you with some soft skills if that also applies?
Yeah, I had a really great teacher for I can't remember if it was AP biology. I think it might have been. I can't remember her name, but she was lovely, and we just had a great class at our junior year of high school, and sort of definitely contributed to my love of science. And then I took honors neurobiology with Dr. Kraus in my senior
Oh,
year of
I
high school.
see.
And it was definitely a tough course. You know, the first exam was very hard for me. And I think that sort of taught me that even if something doesn't come easy, that doesn't mean it's not for me. Um, and, persevered, stayed in the class, ended up doing well. And I think that definitely led me to think, oh, I want to do neuroscience. I want to do science as part of my career.
I see. That is fantastic. So I guess, if I asked you to say, what is maybe one or two teachers who had the largest impact on you at South, you would say these two teachers?
I would say Dr. Kraus for sure. And then my teacher in freshman year, I had two teachers freshman year. I don't can't remember what it's called now, where you have like history and English together. I had Dr. Reinstein and Dr. Parlin, and they were amazing. And I think
Wow.
definitely, yeah. And I took honors Shakespeare. It's not directly correlated with my career in medicine, but I took honors Shakespeare with Dr. Reinstein as a senior, and I loved it. He created an environment where you could be so yourself and still learn and have fun with your classmates. And I think that's something I've taken with me into college and definitely into medical school. So I would say Dr. Reinstein
Wow.
and Dr. Kraus.
I see.
Oh,
That is
sorry, Mr. Reinstein and
uh
Dr. Kraus.
okay. That is amazing. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. And I guess for clubs, were you involved in any clubs in the time you were at South?
Oh, I can't remember. I must have been, but I can't remember what they were. I think I maybe tried to start like a ballroom dancing club. I can't remember. I wasn't super involved in clubs at school. I was a dancer outside of school. So I did that mostly.
I see, fascinating. So I guess, for kids who maybe also want to do med school, you would just tell them that, you got to take AP Bio as well as, I guess, honors neuroscience if you want to, I guess, get the prerequisite knowledge for some courses.
I think I would say more than that, just to challenge yourself in high school and try out things that might not come easy to you, because I think sometimes we want to get the perfect grades and set ourselves up really well. But part of being in high school is figuring out, can you achieve the things you want to achieve in fields that might not immediately come easy to you, but you find interesting and stimulating. And I think that's my advice, is to sort of not limit yourself just by the things that naturally come easy to you.
I see. That is amazing. So I guess, transitioning to college after, you finish your fascinating 4 years of high school with all these amazing teachers, I guess, a lot of people who kind of want to go into the journey of medical school kind of feel like med school is a really, really, really long journey and a very perilous one as well. So I guess, you finish your undergrad where you kind of do a bit of medicine and then you're doing medical school right now. Is there maybe one or two things that I guess you could share with us on what you particularly did in undergrad and college that you feel maybe had the largest impact on you or maybe helped you advance your career in medicine the most?
Yeah, that's a great point. I got involved in research pretty early in undergrad. I think Northeastern sets us up particularly well for that because we're encouraged to go and get job. We have to, through the co-op program, they call it, we go get a job during our second year of undergrad, and we work for 6 months instead of going to classes. And I think that set me up very well. I immediately had a research position and I ended up staying in that research position. So I applied to medical school with quite a bit of research under my belt. And I think that's
I
important.
see.
A lot of, most med schools want to see that you have some form of research. Um, and I'm trying to think of what else I did in undergrad. I volunteered quite a bit in undergrad, which also sets you up. Medical schools want to see that you have one or two things that you're clearly passionate about. And for me, that was volunteering at a senior center and research. So I had those two things. And I said, these are my passions. These are the things that make me me. And I think that's very important for med school.
I see. That does make a lot of sense. And speaking of, I guess, doing outside research, one thing that a lot of kids right now are worried about are internships in college. So I guess what is your experience with internships? If you had any, do you feel that they helped you? If you didn't have any, or if you know any friends that had any, do you feel that it helped them?
Yeah, I had I guess I was a research intern for most summers between in undergrad during the summers and then during the school year as well. I think it does set you up well for med school. I think it doesn't need to necessarily be a research internship, but it can be sort of working in the clinical setting, working in a hospital as a patient care technician, really anything, because I think it's important to work while you're in undergrad and after undergrad as well if you're not immediately going to medical school, because I think it sets you up with skills to sort of in time management, in interacting with people, in working in a clinical or research setting. I think those are all important. I think again, for me, it was sort of set up easier because Northeastern had that program. But I think even like cold emailing people in research labs or in admin of hospitals, like people need help. Like people are willing to take you if you cold email enough people. It's not super easy to find an internship, but it's doable.
I see. That sounds like a lot of stuff to do outside of just,
Yes.
classes and stuff. So I guess, in college, how do you kind of really balance all your time between all these different things? And I assume you also maybe did some interest clubs for some of your hobbies in college as well. So, how do you manage all of these things?
Yeah, it was hard. It was definitely really hard. I remember at one point I was working in the lab and also going to classes. So I would go to class from like 9 to 4 and then go to lab from like 5 to 8. It was crazy. It was really hard, but I think it's easier if you have a goal in the end. I knew that I want. Sorry, that was the cat.
No worries.
I knew I had a goal, and I knew that even though it was really hard when I was, doing classes and doing an internship and trying to balance, eventually figuring out did I want to apply to med school and what I needed to set up for that and this, that, and the other thing. I think knowing that the goal was, well, one day, like I'll be a doctor. That's the goal. I want to get into med school. I think that sort of keeps you going.
I
Also,
see.
finding time for yourself is important. Sometimes I needed to just take a Saturday and say, I'm not going to do any work today. I'm not going to go to the lab. I'm just going to focus on me. I'm going to see my friends. I'm going to relax. I think that definitely helped me sort of stay balanced when trying to manage all of these things at once.
I see. And just to clarify, I guess, what specific, I guess, subset or area of medicine do you hope to, I guess, specialize in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going into pediatrics.
I see. Okay, and I guess since you've been in medical school for pediatrics for a bit, maybe a lot more than us high schoolers, who maybe kind of just got like a YouTube video introduction of what it is. Is there maybe something niche about the field or some fun fact about the field that maybe Sasha going into pediatrics would not have known?
Yeah, I think pediatrics generally people don't think is as serious as something like general surgery, which I think in some ways it's not. I'm not cutting people open every day, but I think one thing that people don't always know about pediatrics is it is a lot of dealing with children, of course, but it's a lot of dealing with parents and really stressed out parents. And I think it takes a lot of empathy and it takes a lot of patience to be with parents who are so stressed out because their child is sick. Um, and so it's not all sunshine and rainbows like people sometimes think it is. I love pediatrics and I'm really excited about that being my job for the rest of my life, but it has its hard times as well.
I see. That's fantastic. So I guess, just to end things off, since, you have a lot more experience with college and I guess more life experience than us measly high schoolers, what is maybe one value or mindset that you view as super important that, took you very far in college as well as in medical school now and you feel maybe it will take us high schoolers just as far as it did for you?
Mm. Yeah, I think sort of one value or my motto is that I don't think that things that are worth having come easy, right? So if,
I
med
see.
school, not easy, finishing college with a tough degree not easy, but these things are worth it. And to me, I think that if it was easy, it wouldn't be as worth it. So I think that's sort of my number one
See,
value.
so it's basically there's no free lunch or anything from the sky. You've got to work for what you want to get.
Exactly. And it's worth it. It's not free, but it's worth it.
I see. Well, thank you very much for sharing today, Sasha. I hope that everyone listening along has learned something from Sasha because I definitely did, not just about, the pediatrics stuff about, what you actually have to do realistically, but also about, how to get through all your years of high school along with internships if you want to pursue medical school. So thank you very much to Sasha once again for joining us today. Thank you very much to everyone for listening, and I will see you all next time. Thank you.